Hello, this is State Senator Josh McKoon, coming to you in the final of my series of video legislative updates for the 2014 legislative session. Today we'll be reviewing Tuesday, day 39, March 18th, and Thursday, March the 20th, which was the final day of our legislative session. On Tuesday, day 39, we considered a number of bills, but I'm going to pare it down to the ones that I think are of most interest to the voters there in District 29. First is House Bill 128, the Downtown Renaissance Act. This would create basically a fund that is state funded to provide low interest loans for downtown redevelopment. While the act passed, I did vote against it because I believe that this is not a proper use of government authority or government funding. I believe that downtown development authorities and a lot of the other tools that we have provided with municipal governments with to revitalize their downtowns are sufficient, and that this was not a wise use of taxpayer dollars. House Bill 449, which we also considered, has to do with the recordings of 911 emergency telephone calls. You're probably familiar with the idea that news outlets get a hold of recordings of these calls. They very often contain deeply personal and disturbing recordings, and so this bill would prohibit the release of the actual audio and instead would only allow the release of a transcript. I was glad to vote for this. I appreciate Senator Mike Dugan carrying it in the Senate, and it did pass. House Bill 643, for those of you who are in the legal profession, you'll find this interesting. It sought to change long-standing rules of discovery, or how people obtain information when they are in a lawsuit, either when they have filed a lawsuit or when they have been sued. And House Bill 643 made great sweeping changes to the law that I believe would have harmed parties that participate in litigation, both plaintiffs and defendants. So I spoke against this bill, and this bill was actually defeated in the Senate. House Bill 744 is the only thing that we are constitutionally mandated as a legislature to do, and that is to enact a balanced budget. House Bill 744 being the budget for fiscal year 15. A couple of notes about the budget. It was $20.8 billion, which is the largest budget we've had since fiscal year 2007, which is a little over $21 billion. It was a 4.6% increase from last year's budget, and it included, among other things, $652 million for the expansion of the Savannah Harbor, as well as an additional $916 million of new revenue for education expenses. So this budget certainly reflects priorities like education and infrastructure, and I was pleased to vote for it. House Bill 794 is the Compact for a Balanced Budget. This is actually an interstate compact to call an Article 5 Constitutional Convention for the limited purpose of requiring that the federal government do what the state government does every year, and that is submit and pass a budget that does not spend more than the government receives in tax revenue. House Bill 810, which we also passed, and I was also pleased to vote for, provides eligibility for homeschool students. Under the current law, there was no way for someone graduating from homeschool to be immediately eligible for HOPE. This provides that if they place in the 80th percentile or above in a nationally normed test like the SAT or the ACT, that they would qualify for a HOPE scholarship. House Bill 990 was an issue that received a lot of attention this legislative session. This bill transfers the authority to expand our state Medicaid program from the governor to the legislature. I believe that since Medicaid is, essentially an appropriation of state dollars, that it is very important that the authority to expand that benefit rest with the state legislature, and that's why I was proud to vote for it. And those were most of the bills of substance that we considered on day 39. On day 40, Thursday, March the 20th, the final day of the session, we again had numerous items we took action on. I've tried to pare it down to the most essential ones. House Bill 60, really known as the gun bill, had to do with providing much more access for people who have carry permits to carry their guns in different places, such as bars and churches. It also removed the requirement that one submit their fingerprints every time they get their license renewed. And I was pleased to support this bill, which I believe is a common sense reform that allows for increased public safety, to be able for you as a lawfully carrying citizen to take your gun wherever you consider it fit, so long as private property owners agree. House Bill 251, which I also voted for, places some common sense regulations on electronic cigarettes, primarily that they can't be sold to anyone under the age of 18, to mirror Georgia law on other tobacco products. House Bill 697 was an extension of some HOPE reform from last year, which allows a student with a 3.5 GPA or better to receive 100% of their technical college tuition through the Zell-Miller grant of the HOPE program. It passed overwhelmingly. I was glad to support this, and I believe this legislation is going to connect more students with opportunities in our technical college system to make them ready for work. House Bill 891, which I carried, had to do with advance voting and allowing municipalities the flexibility to actually reduce the amount of time that advance voting occurs in their municipality from 21 days to 5 days and a mandatory Saturday. And I was glad to support it, and it passed the Senate. A couple of issues that we considered included medical marijuana, which you've probably heard an awful lot about. The Senate unanimously passed House Bill 885, which allowed for cannabis oil to be provided to children with seizure disorders, very narrowly tailored, narrowly crafted, and that went back to the House for further consideration. Ultimately, it did not pass, and so that is an item that I'm sure we'll be taking up next year. The same was the case for the insurance mandate for autism. While it passed both chambers in an amended fashion, we were unable to secure final passage, and so that again is an issue that I expect will be taken up next year, as well as with the privatization, the proposed privatization of Georgia's foster care system. So those are all items we'll see about taking up next year. Now, Day 40 is often referred to as Sine Die or Sine Day. It's Latin. It means without day or without another day. And it simply means that we don't have any more days left, which is good news in my opinion, both for me so that I can get back home to Columbus and to my law practice, but also good news for the voters in District 29 because it means we can't do anything else to you for the remainder of 2014. Now, there will be activity that takes place between now and next January when we convene for the 2015 session. Of course, there will be elections, but also there will be a lot of study committee work that goes on over the next few months. I will be chairing a committee on technology in the courts to hopefully make our court system more consumer friendly, to make it easier to access court records online, and to make it easier to file documents online with the court as well. So there'll be a number of other study committees, a number of other things we'll be working on. I hope that you will not hesitate to contact me at any time. You can reach me at my Senate office at 404-463-3931 or online at joshmckoon.com. And please check joshmckoon.com for an upcoming schedule of town hall meetings that we'll be having throughout District 29. As always, it's my great privilege and honor to serve each and every one of you. I look forward to seeing you now that I'll be back home, and look forward to a great off season as we delve into different issues that we might take up in the 2015 legislature. Thank you.